Donald Trump just had an assassination attempt on his life at a rally in Pennsylvania, and it has taken the world by storm. And we're going to be taking a look at some interviews today to see if the entire thing is simply strange, because there has been an interview come out on Talk TV where a security expert has said that there's something fishy and suspicious about the Trump assassination attempt. Now, over on my other channel, Simply Said, I have kind of gone into depth about this entire situation, talking about basically the facts as they are. But we're going to take a look at this on this channel because I'm intrigued to see what people have to say about it looking a bit suspicious. Let's get into it.
Really interesting to wonder where this is going to go. Well, Will Geddes is now ready. He's an international security expert. You may have just heard me, Will, morning to you, discussing how on earth someone in such an obvious rooftop position with a clear line of sight to the former president, how on earth they weren't picked up on by the security services, how they were able to get on the roof and mount a rifle in such vision and in such clear view of everyone and get to the stage where they can actually fire shots.
It's astounding, Christo. I'll be honest with you, there is something a little bit fishy about this situation, because ultimately, you know, when you're running the protection of a principal, one of the biggest concerns that you will always have is if you're taking them into open spaces, it could be out either singing, promoting, talking, you know, canvassing, whatever it might be, that wherever you have that event, you want to lock it down, secure it as much as possible. And the Secret Service that will be attached to President Trump should have got all of the highest positions, the overviews that there would be of the event space covered. And that's not only the spaces that they themselves can then observe everybody who may be on the ground, anybody who might be in the vicinity, anybody who might be approaching.
This is what the world is talking about right now, of course, is the Secret Service, who, of course, did act incredibly quickly. But it was unfortunate that the response was reactive and not proactive. And that's what people are talking about, is how did someone, 20-year-old Matthew Crooks, get onto a rooftop with a rifle after people have, you know, people did come forward to try and tell the Secret Service and the Sheriff's Office at the time, you know, there is someone with a rifle on top of that building. He wasn't listened to until it was too late, and it wasn't until the shots were fired that the reaction took place from the Secret Service. Yes, it was very quick. Yes, the shooter was taken down very quickly, but the question is, why was this able to take place in the first place?
In the vicinity, but also on other rooftops, in apartment windows, in office windows. So there's something a little bit suspicious about this. To put it mildly.
When you say suspicious, what do you quite mean by that?
Good question.
Well, it really falls into one of two areas, Chris. There is either incompetence in terms of the security planning, or collaboration or collusion in terms of enabling there to be a vacuum, a void within the security that could be potentially filled.
Now, unfortunately, this as well is where the internet is running to with conspiracy theories right now. It is not known whether this, well, the speculation is that this was an inside job to try and rally sympathy and garner sympathy. But I do disagree with that, because who's going to risk their life? Someone died, you know, a shooter died, and also people in the crowd died off the back of this. So I don't think that this was an inside job, but that is what's being speculated about online.
I hope it's not. I mean, I hope it's neither, to be absolutely honest with you. But at the moment, it's very difficult to draw any speculation as it to being, you know, either one or the other.
Is there any defence, perhaps, that the Secret Service can plead on this? Because apparently it was outside of the perimeter of their remit, if you like, that this shooter was on a roof quite far away, apparently from...
It was about 500 foot away from where Trump was stood, was where the shooter was.
From this rally. So is that anything that they can say that perhaps they couldn't have foreseen?
Not really. I think, again, I'm finding this really difficult for it to be a defensible position by the Secret Service, unless there was such a lapse or there was some breakdown or failure obviously by someone within the Secret Service. Now, Krista, don't get me wrong. I know and have some friends who are in the Secret Service, and they are incredibly competent, and they're very well rehearsed and very well experienced, having had numerous attempts, assassination attempts of various different types against former presidents. So I know that they have their game plan very well set out. But the concern is, and I don't subscribe to conspiracy theories, Krista. You and I have known each other a number of years, and when have you ever heard me endorse a conspiracy theory? But this is just very, very odd that this open position, and with rifles, whether it be something which is built to shoot from with a parabellum from a great distance, there are some serious questions to be asked that. You try and put your principal into a pocket of security that they can. One of the biggest challenges, as we've seen in the world, where someone is right next to the stage of where they're talking.
I think.
Sorry, Chris.
No, that's all right. I think we were losing you for just a moment. Listen, well, really interesting to get your update on this. I think we're losing the connection a little bit there, so we'll leave it. But thank you so much for telling us what you think of that. And, again, I don't go for conspiracy theories much. I do a little bit, but not loads. But I can see where Will is coming from.
Yeah, I can too, and I can see why there's conspiracies, because, of course, this is a huge presidential debate, but I just can't imagine that would be why this would be the case. But another video that I wanted to draw your guys' attention to was a former Secret Service agent who analyzes the Trump security response. And I thought this would be really interesting to dive into, to kind of see how they have responded to this, because of course it's easy for me to sit here and scrutinize or speculate, but I've never been involved in that kind of role, so I want to know, was the response good? Was it bad? Should there have been more done? Let's find out.
Let's bring to the conversation Evie Pompouras. She's a former Secret Service agent. Evie, good morning. I want to put up...
She does look like she'd fuck you up, doesn't she?
Up this map of the farm grounds where this event was held last night. So the elevated position where the shooter was set up was about 150 yards from the stage where former President Trump was speaking. As a former Secret Service agent, are you surprised that building wasn't better secured?
So when you do a security plan, you've got the main security, right? The security perimeter where there's the magnetometers, where people are being checked as they're entering the event. You have the outer perimeter, when you have an open rally like this, you are extremely vulnerable. I've done these. They're probably the most anxious you're ever going to be as an agent, because you're trying to secure all of it. Now, the adjacent buildings, you do this in urban environments, you do this in a rural environment like this. When you do a security plan, you literally put yourself on stage, and then you look out as if you were the protectee. What can I see? And if I can see it, it can probably see me. Now, for an outer perimeter like that, typically you will have a local law enforcement presence. You'll notice those buildings. And the Secret Service works with local police. You have to think of the Secret Service like they're the conductor of the orchestra. They create the blueprint and design for the security plan. They work with state police, they work with local police, and then they put in resources and assets.
So in the typical scenario, or in the scenario that one wishes would have unfolded, would you have had perhaps a local official secure that roof to make sure the roof is clear, make sure nobody's in the building, and then stand guard there so no one comes in after that clearing?
So we don't know if they did or did not do this.
Yes, but they should have?
I would presume you should have a local police presence in that area. Now, could you have put somebody on that rooftop? You could have. The other element is the counter sniper team. So as far as we know, we see a two-man team from the Secret Service side. As we were discussing prior before we started speaking, they are looking at everything. They have to cover 360 degrees. So I know a lot of folks are like, how could they not see this? I think one of the issues is, if it is a two-man team, think about what they are consistently covering. So local law enforcement, definitely, but again, we don't know if somebody was or wasn't positioned. Now, if there was no coverage there whatsoever, that's going to be an issue. Why weren't those adjacent buildings looked at? They are very close, yes.
And if there was somebody stationed there from local law enforcement outside the building where the shooter was, as you consider the possibilities, how could he have gotten up there?
So as I look at this, and again, just from a preliminary assessment without having all the details, it seems to me what I would presume before the president goes up on stage, they secure the area, there's communication, essentially, are we good to go? Is he good to get up on stage? I would presume that everything was in the clear. I would think that nobody was on that rooftop. What I suspect, and again, I'm suspecting that after he got up on stage, that's when the shooter took position. There's a little bit of a slant at that rooftop. Also, some of the photos show that he's dressed in colors matching that rooftop and building to camouflage a bit himself. So I'm suspect.
This was definitely a premeditated plan. Like, when you put together all the evidence, it was definitely premeditated.
He took position after President Trump spoke, then engaged.
It's easy in hindsight to say, oh, why wasn't this done or that done? And let's just acknowledge that as we have this conversation. But it is interesting because there were eyewitnesses who said they were actually positioned kind of outside the rally, but were just listening, and that they saw the gunman up with the rifle flying around. They were trying to tell some of the local officials that they saw there. Is there a way to communicate? I mean, these are split-second decisions, but for example, if there had been a state police officer outside on that outer perimeter and someone said, there's a guy up there with a gun, can that message get communicated to Secret Service quickly? Are they all on the same comms?
So really what the issue is, that person that was trying to communicate, were they actually verbally speaking to someone, or were they trying to get somebody's attention? When you're doing these rallies, you're looking at thousands of people. How much law enforcement do you have? Do you have one officer or one law enforcement official to what? 1,000? And are they able to get that person's attention? Guys, at the end of the day too, and I think this is going to come up during the hearing, resources, money, this all costs something. So when you're doing these security advances, you are negotiating. I mean, there are times where I need 75 agents, and it'll come back. It's like, you know what? We don't have the resources or the funds, or we need these folks to be somewhere else. Can you do it with X amount of people? And it's not just the Secret Service. It's going to be law enforcement. Their resources are tapped as well.
Interesting.
So, Evie, quickly, let's talk about the aftermath of the shooting. You see the agents rush the stage, keep the former president on the ground. Then he stands up. What do you see in those images as he pumps his fist to the crowd, exposes himself again, and then moves toward the car?
So if we just break this down as the shooting is happening, we hear the shots being fired. President Trump goes down, he takes cover, and it's also very likely when you look at that banner, there's like this banner around that stage, that tends to be some type of steel that's there by design for an incident like this so that the protectee can hit the ground and take cover. We see the agents come in now from the sides, and their job is, that's the shift, that's what's called the shift. They come in and they are the armor. They're the ones who are literally going to come around. They're going to secure his body. The goal is now, if any additional shots are fired, they take the impact of those shots. They bring him back down. Now you can hear them too. If you're listening to the audio, you can hear them talking on comms. Is it clear? Are we good to go? Because they want to take him from where he's at, and they want to move him to the vehicles. Anytime you're open, and if we look at previous assassinations or assassination attempts, Reagan, JFK, just the most recent ones, always outside, right? Always line of sight issues. So they've got him secure. Once they hear the go, you can go. So I'm assuming for them to get the go, somebody probably told them the threat has been neutralized.
You could hear over the audio, over the comms, like what they're saying there is, it was about 30 seconds after, so you got the 5 shots, pop, 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 pop. And then obviously everyone hits the deck, the Secret Service jump on top of him, and then you hear another gunshot. Now it's believed that that was the sniper taking a shot at the shooter, and then once it was confirmed, you could hear about 30 seconds later, shooter down. And then obviously that was probably the go, and they were probably confirming that there was no movement. Then they probably got the go to send him to the car.
Right? You're not going to move unless you kind of know what's going on. They pick him up, and you can hear the president. It's interesting, just from a human behavior perspective, you hear the president saying, where are my shoes, where are my shoes? A lot of people are commenting on, is that an odd thing to say? You also have to think about, the stress and impact of what just
Everyone's
happened.
shocked, yeah.
And he's just, you know, it's a kind of like a very human, simple thing to think of.
You can hear on the radio too that they say the shooter is down.
Yeah.
You know, so clearly they felt that the threat was neutralized and they could safely move. But as an agent, I mean, the president now with this iconic act of defiance, holding up his fist and literally sticking his neck out into the open again. But if you're an agent right then and there, are you just wishing you could just whisk him off to the car?
Well, I saw that, and I saw that. I can understand why he's doing it from that perspective, but from the other perspective, I'm thinking, we know one shooter is down.
Right.
You don't know if there are other shooters. And then the other thing is
Yeah.
when you move him to the vehicles, you want to make sure, does he have any other shots within him, and check him.
Evie, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Evie.
It is wild, and the whole thing has just gone from craziness to craziness to craziness. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Obviously, was this, is there speculation to be had here? Was this a conspiracy? Was it an inside job? Did the Secret Service do enough? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump scare the hell out of that like button if you have found this informative. Subscribe if you're new, and tick on my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload to the channel. Until next time, guys, I hope that you found it informative and it got you up to speed on everything, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.